you know, you're all standing back there. There's a reason that I played that video today. That is really irritating. Simon, police liaison, can you come to the stage please? Because that noise has only just started when this crowd arrived. Oi! Police liaison to the stage please. This is what they do to irritate us, guys. So I showed that video because I think a lot of you may have heard about how difficult it was to make today happen. And I'm so pleased that so many of you turned out today. Yeah? Well done for coming out and standing up. Make some noise. Oh, I love that. I love that noise. I like making noise. It's getting louder and louder. So it's really distracting me. War is off! Up yours, Metropolitan Police! I'm about to tell the truth about you. So anyway, guys, this protest was announced on the 22nd of October publicly. I put a poster online, and because of the new public order updates or whatever, and the Police Crimes Courts and Sentencing Act, the police now have even more powers to restrict and repress protests. They just do. And I think it also depends on who you actually are and what you've actually done as to how they actually treat you. Now, I'm someone who's paint bombs number 10, handcuffed myself to the gates of number 10. I've got 13 convictions altogether and I've been arrested 16 times. And I think I've exhausted all of the grace that I'm ever going to have from the judiciary. Well, this is the point, isn't it? Now they can't. But the point is, this protest was organised, the police were absolutely fine with everything and against what I'd usually do. For the first time ever, I formally spoke to the police about a protest this year in October. I don't like doing it, guys. I don't like the fact that the police keep us in one lane. I don't like the tape and cone. I don't like the fact that they walk alongside us and try and restrict us. But I think it's time to admit that we already live in a permission state. You've all run off now. Where's all the cops? There were so many of you earlier, and now you've all run away. We live in a permission state already, and I think people need to realise they come after certain people harder than they do others. And in organising this protest, everything was fine. Well, until Israel's sponsored protest was announced to be happening, which is happening immediately behind us. Now, I didn't have a problem with that. I think everybody's got the right to protest. Everybody does. I don't care what your views are. I don't care what your politics is. I don't care what your ideology is, who you pray to, what colour your skin is. I don't care. I am a free speech absolutist, and you can say what you want. But when your job is literally to distract, divide and conquer, I'm going to call you out. And what happened with the protesters happening behind us, the Metropolitan Police gave that person everything that he wanted and restricted us more and more and more. With all these barriers, with all these rules, with the tape and cone, with the police walking alongside us, they told me I could only have 3 lanes. That's why this is in the middle and I'm in this position. I've been forced into this position by the Metropolitan Police. What? Yeah, they are criminals. The Metropolitan Police are criminals. Absolutely. They do work for us. But the problem is with these people, you get a little bit of power and a little bit more power and a little bit more power. You start to think that what's coming for humanity isn't coming for you, like you're above it. Well, let me tell you something, you're not above it. It's coming for you too, and we are here today fighting for you, the Metropolitan Police, because we fight for humanity. You make our job harder, you suppress our free speech and our protest, and you make people not want to come out. But we stand here for you and your children as well, so you need to listen. But like I say, you've all run away. Now, I'm a talker and I'm going to try not to be so much. I just wanted to get that out of the way, but I tell you what. First of all, I'm going to invite our first speaker onto the stage, and he's the son of a man that we all know. But he himself my friend actually described him as an angel because he is one of the most humble, kind-hearted, intelligent and caring men that I've met. He is a presenter on Iconic, and he too is fighting for everyone's freedom and has been for years now, and I just think he is obviously following in his father's footsteps in so many ways. But the next man, he is his own man, he's an incredible man. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Gareth Icke, everyone. Please make some noise.
Thank you so much. I'm not rapping, not this time. It does feel like 2020 all over again, doesn't it? I was thinking that, I'm like, right, we're right back at the coalface. But I will say it was an honour to stand in defiance with all of you then, and it is now. Because we stood up then because we knew, as we know now, that the power is with the people. The power is with us. Thank you very much. Governments answer to us, not the other way around. And what we've allowed over the years is we've allowed ourselves to be gaslit and fooled and conned and divided and terrified into accepting the reverse. Well, that stops now. Now, back in 2020, this is the main difference here, because right now we're being asked to accept something that none of us want. Absolutely no one wants digital ID at all. But in 2020, when we stood up, we were the minority, and we were fighting back not just against the state, but we were fighting back against our friends, family members sometimes, work colleagues, employers, Jeremy Vine. But we're the majority now. We have the numbers that we didn't have back in 2020. Now that's not to say that, you know, fighting back against digital ID is going to be simple or easy or without sacrifice, because we will be asked to give up stuff that we love and things that we hold dear and take for granted to resist digital ID. And that, I think, is a conversation that all of us are going to have with ourselves at some point. What are we willing to give up? What are we willing not to do that we normally did in order to stand back and refuse digital ID? Because let's have it right, they will put those blockages in the way for all of us. And of course that's a conversation we have with ourselves, and only we can answer how far we're willing to go. But I will say that if you're coming into this battle with the attitude of, I'm going to resist digital ID unless, or I'm going to refuse to submit to digital ID, but if they do X, Y, and Z, then you may as well put up that white flag and sign on the dotted line now, because they will put those blockages in place. But let me frame the question in a different way. Instead of asking ourselves, what are we going to be giving up if we comply, or if we don't comply, and we refuse digital ID, ask yourselves, what will you be giving up if you do comply with digital ID? What will you be sacrificing on the altar of you'll own nothing, you'll have no privacy, but you'll be bloody miserable? We'll be giving away our freedoms, our children's freedoms, our grandchildren's freedoms. We'll be giving away our rights to where we can go, what we can do, what we can buy, whether we can access our money, what we can say, what we can hear. We'll be giving away our children's futures. We'll be giving away their freedoms. They will never experience true freedom because we will have given it away on their behalf. They will never be able to be uniquely themselves, to express themselves freely, because we gave it away on their behalf. Now, as I say, they're going to put all these blockages in our way, and they're going to try and make it difficult for us to resist digital ID. They're going to gaslight us some more. They're going to try and fool us and hoodwink us into accepting it. Because I understand, ladies and gentlemen, that our digital prison is being built around us all the time. I'm not a fool. I know that it's coming in many and various ways. But digital ID is the bedrock that all this stuff is built upon. I said it was a ridiculous analogy, but it kind of worked-ish, so I'm going to repeat it. For me, digital ID is the pizza base, and all the other aspects are just the toppings. Without the base, you've got a very messy kitchen. And that's why it's so important for us to resist digital ID. Because digital ID is the padlock that closes that door shut if we allow it. And that's the most important point here, if we allow it. They're trying to fool us, they're trying to terrify us and divide us into accepting digital ID because they know they can't do it without our consent. If they could steamroller over us and bring in this hellscape without us agreeing, trust me, they would. But they can't, because that's not how this dynamic works. Every single one of you here, and every single person watching on a live stream, and every single person going to say, you know, hallelujah and stuff with Tommy, every single one of them is a miracle. Whatever it takes in terms of the neurons that need to fire, the electronic impulses through our nerves, for us to just get out of bed in the morning is an absolute miracle. Every life that comes into this world is a miracle. You're not a number, you're not a barcode, you're not a QR code, and you're not a state asset. We are free human beings, and we decide our future, not Larry Ellison or Tony Blair or Zippy from Rainbow or any of his Ukrainian arsonists, none of them. We decide our futures, not them. Now, I'm absolutely sure that they will seek to divide us, and they will throw dirty tricks there to get us to turn on each other, because they know that when we stand together as one, we are uncontrollable and unbeatable. So when they throw in those dirty tricks to get us to turn on each other, we need to refuse. We say, no, I'm not going to hate each other, I'm not going to hate my neighbour, I'm not going to fall for this. We put all our differences aside. We can go back to hating each other tomorrow, that's fine. We can argue tomorrow. But when it comes to digital ID, they're coming for all of us. It doesn't matter what differences we have between us, and I'm sure there's a multitude of differences. Me and that flag for one. There's a multitude of differences. But we have so much more in common than we do that divides us. And they know that the only way they can get us to submit is by dividing us. So let's see that play of divide and rule as a positive thing, because what it means is they know they can't do it when we're together. They know that we have the power, and the only power that Zippy from Rainbow and all the rest of them have is the power that we give to them. So let's refuse to hand over that power. We do not bend, we do not break, we do not kneel at the feet of Xerxes at the hot gates. We do not accept that 30 pieces of short-term convenience silver. We stand together, united. When those literal or metaphorical jackboots come to our door, we stand tall and we look that enemy in the eye and we refuse to blink. And perhaps more importantly, we refuse to stand aside when those jackboots come to the doors of our neighbour. Like I say, we can fight again tomorrow if we need to. But for now, let us unite. And let us remind those that would rule over us that while some tyrannies last longer than others, in the end they all ultimately crumble. Because when faced with the indomitable force of the collective human spirit, evil will never win the day. No more false heroes, no more idols, no more saviors. The person that wins this battle is the person that stares back at you every single morning when you're brushing your teeth. And when that reflection stands tall, it puffs out its chest, and it looks these demons in the eye, and it refuses to bow and to comply, then we win, and we win together. And I will just say one final, very quick, short, simplistic message to those demons that seek our destruction. Bring it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.